to bring hostages back home.
Among the protesters were families of those still held by the militant group.
Describing the aftermath of former Hurricane Helene as broad and devastating, President Joe Biden announced that his administration is offering a comprehensive range of aid to the affected region.
Biden is expected to visit North Carolina this week to survey some of the damage firsthand.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell indicated that more interest rate cuts are on the horizon, but emphasized they would happen at a measured pace designed to sustain the economy's overall health. Arkansas filed a lawsuit against YouTube and its parent company Alphabet, accusing the platform of being intentionally addictive and contributing to a mental health crisis among the state's youth.
Attorney General Tim Griffin's office filed the case in state court, alleging violations of the state's deceptive trade practices.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Independent
the rules with no fact checking
are encouraged.
No, the rules. Fact checking. No fact checking. Wait. Can't fact check me.
Damn,
no.
And hot.
And hot.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wow, you're a little dark. Kind of a dark guy, right? I'll work on that.
My dog is your
Ramon
mind's
on
best
it right away.
friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
I don't make you laugh. I don't make you laugh. Admit it. Unless you're laughing at me, like ridiculing me. Wow, it's really bright over there. Can you see my monitor? Can you see my eye? I don't know. Now I'm confused. Who am I? I never knew I was so bright. I'm a bright guy. I'll just stay dark. You don't mind if I stay dark. I got low. Yeah, I got low. Good morning, you creepy crawlers of planet Earth. It is, I think it's Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. If I'm not full of dementia and crazy, just losing control of all my faculties. There it goes. Time for a diaper change right there. I have to say, I feel compelled to say that yesterday, and I know at some point somebody's going to want to talk about that dopey debate last night. So I'm going to try to minimize that because you watched it. I don't know. You go have fun with it. It's all over the news. It's all over social media. People talking about it. I don't really care. It's a minor league game. I will say that J.D. Vance had the biggest hard swallow since that time he sucked Peter Thiel off. That's what that's my big takeaway. I don't know if you caught him gulping down a little chunk of Mike Pence in the video, but you could see it. You could almost see the cum just dripping down his throat. But besides that, I don't really care about the debate. So sue me. Yesterday saved my life. I being a little melodramatic there, yeah. A little, I don't know, over the top, whatever I'm being. Here's what happened. I've been in a funk for about a week because of all, people think I'm just like a stone wall, and I am kind of like a stone wall. But I've been getting a barrage of hate, and at some point you can't lie to people and say that doesn't affect you. It does affect you. Sometimes you just brush it off, and sometimes you look at the people who are delivering it, and you say, "Well, they're nobody. What the fuck do they matter?" And they don't matter. I'll never meet some of these people who are hating on me for whatever opinions I expressed on YouTube. But at some point, it does start to weigh on you. And it's soul-sucking because your phone is constantly giving you notifications that you got more hate just arrived. That's basically what it says. You're a hater. Hater in the mail. And so it does get to you. So I've been in a funk over that. It just drains your energy. Expose the haters. Good morning, Ian. Ian is telling me expose the haters. I meant to read them on Monday. At this point, there's just too many of them. There's like 1,000 comments on 2 videos. Most of them are what I would call hateful, angry at me for daring to disagree with them, and it's not going to stop me. If you think that's going to stop me, you don't know how deep my psychosis runs. But yesterday saved my life. It really did. Now, I'm not a person who thinks about suicide. If I ever thought about suicide, I could never go through with it because I'm too much of a pussy to actually hurt myself in that kind of way. Now, I have punched myself or done stupid things like that, but regretted it immediately. I could never hurt myself seriously, but I was in a funk, and it was just bringing me down, dog. And then yesterday I went to do a VA home. VA facility, and it was a strolling gig, and I was playing for people who were bedbound. They could not come to the recreation hall to see a full show, so you bring your acoustic guitar right up to their bed and do a show. And I did a couple of songs for this gentleman who was almost 100. By the way, happy birthday, Jimmy Carter. Today is 100, I believe. I think we said happy birthday to him yesterday. I think today's the day. Anyway, this guy was almost 100 and pretty unresponsive. And his wife was there. His wife of 70 years or something. And she told me to play, I played some Sinatra for him because that's what he liked. And he smiled and gave me a thumbs up. And his wife was crying. She said he hasn't done that much in a very long time. And she was pointing at me. She said, "You did that. You did that." But she was saying not like I did something bad. Like I created something, a moment for her. And that to me is my reward. It really is. It's the most rewarding thing in any gig. You could have, and I'm being completely honest here. I could have 1,000 beautiful, hot women screaming my name and chanting my name. Now, not that that's ever happened. I'm just in my imagination. I could have that. It would not be as rewarding as that guy smiling, giving me the thumbs up, and his wife with tears in his eyes saying, "You did that. You did that." So it saved my life. It really did. I know it sounds like I'm being melodramatic, and I am. But you know what? When it comes to all the hate and haters, you do that once. What are you doing with your fucking life? Are you giving an old man his last smile and his last thumbs up and making his wife cry tears of joy? If not, buzz off. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. My friend Lisa was performing at the Apollo Theater tonight. Her second performance at the Apollo Theater. Lisa, she's been on this program. You know her. She's actually had a show on Mind Dog TV called Being Lisa Polizzi. She's got a stalker. And crazy people, there's mental illness is rampant in this world today. People who, like, she's not my sister Sam, whatever that girl was, like on television, like that kind of not requiring, not on the level where you would expect stalking to occur. She's not like an A-list celebrity. She's a local rock star, and that's a fair way to describe her. A New York area rock star. She has several bands. Every one of them has her name in it. But she also has the Janis Joplin Experience, and she does an incredible Janis Joplin tribute. But she's got a stalker now, and this guy he's dangerous, and the cops aren't doing anything about it. If I did not have a show tonight, I would be at the Apollo Theater being her security guard. Now, I feel like I could refer this guy to a specialist. It's Dr. Roof. And I can bring him right to Dr. Roof's office and just kind of get him the help he needs. But I'm not going to be able to make it tonight. But I actually don't have a gig on Friday night this week, which is unusual. And I probably will be escorting her as the bodyguard type of. I'm not going to be like Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. Don't get me wrong, that ain't happening. And her boyfriend James is a very rough dude, but he's not intimidating looking. He's kind of short, and I think people think they can. James will fuck this guy up. Not that I want him fucked up. He's sick. He needs help. But it's really disturbing to see when your friends are, when you're performing and everybody knows your public schedule. They know where to find you, and then they get creepy. And this guy is getting creepy. She showed me some of the texts this guy sent. It's just it's a very weird, dangerous thing. Today at 10:15, we're gonna have Dan Handel. Handel? Yeah, Dan Handel. He's written a book, Designed Forests, and from what I can gather, and I really feel like I'm in over my head. Now, I've talked to people, physicists and brain surgeons, and people who are really, really smart. This conversation feels like I am out of my league. I am confused by the subject matter. It feels like he wants to conserve nature, wants to conserve forestry, but also pointing out how some of our urban development and architectural design is based on forests. It's very confusing to me. But hopefully he'll enlighten me without humiliating how really dense and dumb I am. Stephen is not with us here today. Stephen is often, he's at the Diddley Lutheran, the P. Diddy Lutheran School for Abused Children, or soon to be abused children. So we'll miss Stephen today. And maybe it's good because now we can pick on him while he's not here, and he won't even know what we're saying about him because he never watches the show when he's not on it. So anyway, let's get to a quick commercial, and then we'll meet the two deviants who did show up. I forget their names, Al and Joe or something. I don't know, Heckle and Jekyll, whatever their names are. Right now, it's time for. I need some Mind Bloom. Blow your mind with this.
Mind Bloom is helping people achieve life-changing clinical and personal breakthroughs, alchemizing both the psychedelic medication, psychiatric care from psychiatric clinicians, coaches, we call psychedelic guides, and a lot of content and meditations and programs into this really transformational experience that, because it's delivered at home, costs a lot less and is a lot more convenient for people to receive.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, in the room with me now are the sweet and delicate Ron Kane and my best friend of 37 years, Mr. AJ Benza from MTV. Good morning, AJ.
Good morning, America. I thought you was going to say AJ Boyd, but they wouldn't have known
what
you're talking about.
Whatever.
Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Did you watch last night's debate and now you need a palate cleanse? Why stop there? Go to MindDog TV for all of your cleansing needs. Palate, nostrils, colon. If you have an orifice, we have a cleanse. If you don't have an orifice, you can get one at MindDogTV.com. Support your local mercenaries and enjoy the suffering.
So, according to you, and I definitely am willing to stipulate that you are correct on this. You did your research. The internet is saying today is yesterday was Jimmy Carter's birthday. I said it was today because Barack Obama just put out a happy birthday video to him this morning, and I'm going all by Barack because Barack has been on the show lately and contributing to the program, and I thought he might be steering me right, but I will trust this black guy, that black guy, before the other black guy. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if I were you, seeing how I understand the pressure to believe him because he was a former president. Well, actually, he is a former president, and he has a little more influence than I have. A few more followers.
Not with me, buddy.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
All right.
No.
All right. You guys did watch the debate, right? Yes.
I did, and the first thing I thought of, not once did they mention how Ron's interview went, and that was what I thought was going to be one of the first 2 or 3 questions that they were going to ask the candidates. It was like, what did you think of the way Ron's interview went? And that's what I thought, but I was disappointed. I was.
Ron was interviewed on 60 Minutes for people who don't know about his latest bucket show endeavor, and I think he chickened out. I think he ran away from 60 Minutes. Leslie Stahl actually went to look in the bucket and saw nothing in the bucket.
She saw his algorithm and canceled the interview. She just went, "Oh shit, come on!" So she looked off camera. She looked off camera at her producer and went, "Why? Why?"
So, Ron, did you pull your cock out?
No,
on the interview.
No, I did not pull it out.
You have no qualms about pulling it out on this show. I don't know.
No, it was fairly normal. They definitely want to fuck me, but I don't think I'm gonna fuck them.
All right.
Could you finger them a little?
Yeah. I warmed them up a little bit, a couple of nipple twists.
Yeah. Little clamp. Get one of these little clamps here. They do just go.
No, I think when it's all said and done, like if I would take the job, and like the amount that they want to pay, that I think I'd actually make out only slightly better.
Wow.
If I wasn't on unemployment, so I can go on unemployment and be okay.
How long does unemployment last? You've been out of work for the last 37 years.
I'm on a severance right now. I'm on a severance. I'm still employed until October 19th. Officially employed until October 19th. Then I can apply for unemployment because then
your employment ends on a Saturday. That's weird. It's kind of a bummer. Like Saturday's the best day of the week, in my opinion. It's always been. Ever since I can remember days, like 2 years old, Saturday was the best day of the week. To get end your employment on a Saturday, it's just a bummer to me. It's
no, Ron, my question now is, do you have to go in for an exit interview?
Have you ever done one of those? Have you done an exit? Have you ever had to do an exit interview? I have.
No.
I have been pretty. I think they were happy to see me go on the exit interviews, but I've been like really abusive to them on that kind of stuff. Like you can imagine, I can be pretty rude. I could I forget who we were talking to the other day. I forget his name now. Well, Robert Ross. No, not Robert Ross. It was yesterday. Somebody Moss, right? The psychiatrist, Fred Moss. But we were discussing the fact that we could all be a dick sometimes. But me on a exit interview is I think the epitome of human dickness. I mean, I just burn the fucking place down. So it's always fun. Let's talk about how your employment here sucked and give it to me straight, and then I unload. Somebody
did you I've had a few of those myself, and I always try to pepper in something positive for that they could actually do.
See, that's why I'm a dick, because I'm incapable of peppering in something positive.
Because that's the time that you can actually make a suggestion, and without repercussions, you can actually say, "Look, I know I'm leaving, but there are people that that are still going to be here. Some of them are my friends. I actually care about them and would like for them to have a better experience than I had. This would help.
Explain to me this how you this caring about other people. This is a foreign concept to me. How does it work?
Wow, that's tough. I can only tell you that I can only suggest that you read my new book. Actually,
Designing people, designing humans.
pretending you care that humans are worth caring about for idiots.
Okay. Somebody saw a video that one of the Ken Tamplin videos. I'm sorry to even say that name. Somebody saw that one and said, "What a nice video. Are you the guy that helped Nixon? My father says you are, but I say you're not old enough to be." I
That's
think
true.
I
You're
think
not old
the
enough.
father saw my picture and thought, "That's G. Gordon Liddy."
Yeah.
Liddy would be older than Jimmy Carter, though, right? He would be like 115 or something. I think. I don't know.
And dead.
Yeah, but Gordon Liddy died a long time ago. Long before, I mean, his soul died long before he did.
Right. Now let me ask you: can you picture? I mean, you know who Liddy was. A lot of these children out here who are listening, these 55 and older children that listen to this show, might not remember G. Gordon Liddy. In your imagination, could you ever imagine him talking about a singer and a vocal coach as a rant on YouTube?
Well, actually, he could if he thought it was a spy. If he thought they were a Cuban spy, yes, he would.
All right, I'm going to come out with that video today of me accusing Ken Tamplin of being a Cuban spy. We'll see if I can pull that one off. I don't know. It's just weird. But
just for the record, he died in March of 2021.
Okay. Wow, that's not that long ago. Man, he was an old cat then.
Yeah,
either that or
I didn't check his age. I didn't check the age. I just want
he
to know
looked old in 1970, but then again, consider that in 1970 I was 11 years old. So of course anybody looked older to me, but he looked at least like close to 40, 50, something, 40s, 50s, something like that. Then I'm talking, 55 years ago. So.
Yeah, but Liddy didn't actually celebrate birthdays. If I understand correctly, he actually celebrated capers.
And I think at time in the Satan sphere, the Satanist part of whatever, time is kind of, it's like dog years and it's like dragon years and whatever he is, demon years. So we don't know how old he was in actual demon years.
He celebrated coups and capers. He didn't celebrate birthdays.
Right. Now the hate, does the hate button, when you get hateful comments, and I know you don't get like a deluge of them, but I'm getting, I think on the average now, like 70 an hour of these comments. I don't mean to sound like Willie. They're not all hate, but some of them are definitely filled with hate. And just looking, you seem to deal with it okay. If somebody leaves, it doesn't bother you when somebody says something like really negative personally about you.
Good, Ron.
Oh, Ron.
I don't know. I just kind of ignore it and just.
How? How do you just ignore it? Teach me, old sensei.
I just move on with my life because I'm like, it's not worth the time.
Yeah. All right.
And to be honest,
it's tough. I agree, but at the same time, you just got to learn to like either just move on or you're just going to go down that fucking wormhole of calling people pieces of shit. And unfortunately, like for you, Matt, you physically can't get a hold of them. So I can just imagine I can imagine you just throwing laptops around your room like, you motherfucker.
No, it's not that. No, it really is. I take it to heart. Like, and I don't, it's not like I'm losing sleep over it, but it is a drain on energy when you think, it's kind of like that thing with GD the other day. All he said was, "I don't care," and somebody just took that 3 words, and all of a sudden he's a black Nazi. It's like, what? You're not listening to what he said. You didn't get the meaning of what he said. It's like, and now if I do a 20-minute video, every single word will be misconstrued and people will just taking the wrong message from it. It's like, I feel like I'm speaking in English. Are you listening in English? Where is the disconnect here? And then it's like, not that they just like called me a dick and were driving past or gave me the finger. I could deal with that. It's like they spray painted it on the front of my house, like asshole lives here. It's like, wait a minute, this is this is not good. This is not fun.
When I was a kid, one of the things I learned from my mother was not to fight over lies, fight for the truth. That was one of the things that she didn't tell it to me in those words. It actually took her 12 years and 700 lectures, but I narrowed it down to that soundbite. And so that and the realization that most people are reflections. We don't see each other as who we are. Most people are just reflections for what we are on the inside. So when someone hates me or sends me hate mail, I just accept the fact that it's not me that they're hating. It's something that they're seeing in themselves.
Yeah.
Or something that's really getting at them. And that's in their head. And I don't have time to be living in their head. I don't care.
Right.
It's almost it's very misguided today. It's like that. Have you seen that video of the guy smashing the Taylor Swift guitar?
The $4,000. He paid $4,000, and we don't even really know that it was Taylor Swift's guitar. Somebody bought a guitar, said, "Yeah, this is Taylor Swift's old guitar. Give me $4,000, and I'll let you hit it with a hatchet." That is so bizarre.
Or it belongs to someone named Taylor Swift, but not that one.
Right.
It's just very like you could have taken that $4,000 and used it for something else.
Right. Well, my comment on the video was the economy is so bad that we can only afford to smash $4,000 guitars. I mean, where are we? We're lost. If that's how bad the economy is going to get, we might as well just pack it in now. I mean, where's the day of smashing $50,000 and $100,000 guitars? It's gone forever. We'll never see those days again. And it's
we might, but it won't be us doing it. It'll be like Pete Townsend on his last tour says this guitar was $50,000, and he breaks it and burns it up.
Yeah, that reminds me of I had an acoustic guitar that the dogs and cats were fighting in the house, and they broke my guitar, and I posted a picture of it online. They broke the headstock clear off the acoustic guitar, and some guy was trying to tell me how to fix it, and I was like, "You don't get it. This guitar is like Pete Townsend smashed it on Jimi Hendrix gravestone, like to bits." It's not going to be fixed. There's no fixing here. But yeah, that's a good analogy.
That would be a good video to have Pete Townsend smashing your guitar on Jimi Hendrix's tombstone.
Yeah, and breaking the tombstone.
That is a video that I actually would watch. I don't watch many videos. I even videos that friends send me. I don't watch most of them. I just like them because they took the time to send it to me. But I don't know. I made a mistake of opening a video a friend sent me, and it was child porn. And he sent a message, and I said to him, "What the fuck did you send me this for?" And he goes, "I want you to call somebody and report this." I said, "You could have done that. Why would you send it to me?"
Yeah, don't drag you into it.
Don't get that shit on my computer. Thank God that was like 2 computers ago, and there's no way anybody could trace that shit to my, because that computer is like dead.
In all seriousness,
was it a white friend? Was it a white friend?
No. Unfortunately, it was a black friend. Actually, it was a black relative. It was a cousin. And I'm like, don't send me this shit. Don't ever.
Let me. This is not funny, but I have a friend, or had a friend. He's now passed on. He was a local. Pretty much a local celebrity in bands here, and everybody knew him. He was very vocal. Everybody knew his name, and he ran a lot of different communities. People were part of it. His whole inner circle, a lot of people. He had a very wide circle, the widest inner circle I've ever seen. He got raided by local police for child porn stuff. Same exact thing. Somebody had sent him a child porn video in his email. He opened it up, and somehow he got caught in this chain. He got arrested. He was on the front page, not the front page, but the entertainment section headline page, had his picture there, all over Facebook and the internet, and it's pretty much ruined his life. And that was he quit the band that he was in for 23 years, which was a very popular band, and then was kind of subjected to, being an outcast. And he came up once.
You didn't say the name of the band. Was that band the name of that band, the Epstein Five?
Yeah, the Epstein Five. No, but they had that reputation. I mean, they had to try to cover their own. Everybody who was connected to him in any way was disowning him, and the band did it. This band had been with them. I mean, he was a founding member for 23 years, and then they just cut him off without giving him any benefit of the doubt that this was a setup. Somebody sent him stuff. When he got to court, they threw the case out because they actually had. His lawyers did their homework and showed this. Basically, somebody just sent him this file. He did not know what it was when he opened it up, but still, that's considered, I don't know, trafficking and child pornography or something. Anyway, they dropped the charges, but still nobody forgave him. He came up once to sing with our band. I invited him up on stage, and people were walking out. And then I had to deal with all these people. How dare you have that pedophile? He's like, it's not a fucking pedophile. And, it's just like, so the lynch mob mentality is just bizarre. So I'm glad you didn't get caught up in that, but it's not a funny thing if that happens to you.
No, and this was back during the time when I was on a no-fly list. My phone calls were being monitored. My computer had been hacked because they thought I had more information in it. And the only thing that protected me was that I had 4 hard drives and they didn't talk to each other.
Wow.
You had to finagle. If I had information on like hard drive D that I wanted to share with the public, I had to physically hook up hard drive D to do that. Otherwise, when I'm not using that hard drive and it was a different operating system. I had 3 operating systems. I had Windows 95, Windows 98, and Windows ME, I think, all different on different hard drives. So, and that was just because I was too fucking lazy to. I had software back then that wouldn't work. I don't know if you remember this, but some software, like when Windows 95 went straight, manipulated DOS directly. And Windows said, we're not going to have you fucking with our DOS. So they changed their system, which meant that software would not work with the new upgrade.
Right.
But I liked that software. So I just had new software, new operating systems on new hard drives. That's the only thing that saved me. The fact that I was such a dick about that. I had different operating systems.
Wow. You were a dick about something?
Oh, wow. At least one thing.
All right. Yeah. So I'm glad you haven't been subject to what that guy went through, because it did end his life. It actually contributed to his. I don't know if people really take this seriously, but when that kind of stuff happens to you, it affects your health and everything, not just your mental health. It affects your physical health. And this guy he was on top of the mountain, and then 5 years later, he was completely erased from the planet for that kind of stuff. So.
I had a friend. Actually, he's still a friend. I just don't open his videos anymore. if my wife is in the room, because I look, my wife was sitting next to me on the sofa, and it was like, boop, and my wife goes, "Oh, what's he want?" And because he doesn't talk to me often, so usually it's like good news, really good news, or really bad news. And so I said, "Okay, let me check this out. What's going on?" And I hit it, and it's a woman taking it in the ass with a big dick. It's a video, and my wife is right next to me, and she goes, "Why did he send you that?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I don't know. I didn't ask him to send it." And so I said, let me take this in the other room. I'm gonna call him. She goes, "Call him here." I said, "No, I don't want you to hear."
Kind of like whenever I get a text from Ron, it's the same thing.
Is it anything like
Laura,
that?
what that mouth do? Want to put this meat pickle in your mouth? Let me take down my pants and work this meat slab like a construction worker. You dirty little slut.
I thought pickles were made of cucumbers. They're made of meat? I don't know. I'll try one, I guess. Wait, that's not pickle. um,
and my wife said, "What makes you?" My wife said, "Why did he send it to you?" I said, "I don't know. I have to call him to find out." And then she says, "Well, what?" He says, "Do you like that kind of stuff?" I said, "That has nothing to do with why he sends me stuff. I don't know why he sent it." She goes, "Well, he must have sent it for a reason." I said, "And I won't find out unless I call him." I said, "I don't know. I don't know if he's bragging." And then she says, "Isn't he married?" I said, "Yes, he's married, but I don't know what kind of arrangement he has with his wife. I don't know. I can't answer for other people's behavior."
Mikey used to send me TNA pictures all the fucking time. I'm talking about like late 90s, early 2000s. He used to send and he would send it out to, like a group, the band group text messages, not text, but emails. And I'd be at work and I'd be getting like pornographic pictures. And I said, "You're acting like a teenager with this stuff." And the only way I could get him to stop, I had a a screenshot of him at a gig, and he used to have a signature move. It was kind of like this. But he was in a brown khaki shirt, and I photoshopped the Nazi SWAT sticker on the shirt, and I sent it out to his entire business list. I had everybody on this, and I said, I put him on the cover of, because there was a New York Post headline that said "Campaign of Hate," and it was all about Nazis in New York City. And I put his picture in that article on the front page of the New York Post of him doing a Nazi salute with a SWAT sticker on his brown khaki shirt. And that put a stop to him sending me pornographic pictures once and for all. So sometimes you have to stoop to drastic measures. I can't read what he's saying. Oh. No, that's not his wife.
No, that's a misspelling of the Reverend's wife's name. The wife's name is spelled IMM. Yeah. I'm on a roll. So the Reverend, he's saying the Reverend sent me that stuff.
Yeah, it's almost Amona or something. I don't know what the hell.
It's IMM, but that's okay. I get the joke, and he didn't send it to me.
Broke down.
Yeah. So coming back to this debate last night, I watched a little bit of it, but I couldn't handle it after a while. My takeaway from this is that didn't change anybody's mind. If anybody, nobody's changing their vote because of it. Do you think am I wrong that nobody is going to change their vote based on that debate last night?
I think the people that are solidly into the Trump party, people who are solidly supporting Trump are not going to move. People who are solidly supporting Kamala Harris are not going to move. The people who say they're undecided, they might be moved only because, and not because of the debate itself, but because of the clips and the videos that are going to follow based on the debate. Like, for example, there's a clip when they asked Tim Walz about him saying that he was at Tiananmen Square. And I don't think he was at Tiananmen Square when it happened. Now,
right.
He had been there, but not when it happened. But apparently, the impression is that he was at Tiananmen Square when it happened, but he had been there after it happened. But I don't know. And he looked
I like Tim Walz, but he seems to get into this kind of predicament a lot and I know he said he misspoke. He seems to misspeak a lot. Like about his military service, about that, and it feels like he's being caught in a lie. It definitely felt like
that's how it felt. And again, so that I can see that being like a clip, being made into a clip. Now, but him saying that does not affect anybody's life quality or quality of life.
Right.
Whether he was at Tiananmen Square or not doesn't affect it. On the other hand, J.D. Vance says, "I never supported a national abortion ban." And they have video of him saying it and text of him writing it. So, and that, having someone a heartbeat away or having the ear of someone like Donald Trump who listens to the last person who's in the room with him could affect the quality of life for other people.
For me, and I know the supporters will not have the same reaction. But for me, the minute you say, "Hey, the rules were you weren't supposed to fact check me," it's kind of I'm hearing is
I just lied.
Stop pointing out that I'm lying. You were not supposed to point out my lies. That's
yes, yes, yes. That soundbite. Well, yeah. I was like, what? Stop telling people I'm.
You're not supposed to check.
Vance was trying to pitch Christian nationalism like is something good, like taking your personal freedom and the creepiness of they want to be in your bedroom, and yeah, it was sad, but we do have some rebuttals and of some people.
Okay.
So let's I was able to talk to Donnie last night and get his opinion on it.
My little pet did well last night. Not the type of pet you will eat, although when Vance gets his nose around the brown ring, that leave my little hands tingling. Let me lift up my belly for him.
Now, wait a minute. He says when he gets his mouth around the brown ring, I'm assuming that's his ass.
Yeah.
But you said, let me lift up my belly for him. How does that help him around the ass? I'm sorry. I didn't.
Well, if he's bent over a desk, he's got to lift that belly up on a desk.
Just do me a favor.
Okay.
Keep an eye on me. And if I'm got my coffee up here and I'm like this, and right before Ron's supposed to do a video, yell stop at me. Don't take a sip, because I almost choked to death on that.
First of all, why would you put something brown in your mouth when you know Ron's about to show a video?
I felt like I needed a caffeine boost there.
If Ron shows a video, it's going to involve shit or cheese. You know that.
Yeah.
I was able to get Kamala had a response as well.
Christ, Vance reminds me of a guy who sniffs his own ass. Walls did like a teacher does and teach Vance to stop eating pets. Hey, Donnie, how do these nuts taste?
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I got a hard crush on. I think she's a beautiful woman, and here's the reason I'm bringing that up. We see people become president. Men, obviously, no woman has been a president, but we see people who go in looking young, and after the presidency, they come out looking like something that came out of Trump's ass. They really look beat up. I'm hoping that if she becomes president, it doesn't destroy her. I think she's a very attractive woman. Do you agree with me?
I agree, but I'm not allowed to find her attractive because she looks like family. If you go to one of my family reunions or family functions, you're going to see like 5 or 6 cousins that look like that.
You know what she looks like to me? She looks like a chocolate Hillary Duff.
I'd have to research Hillary Duff.
Really?
Wait, Joe wants to weigh in too.
Vance is such a pet and desperate to tell you he's poor, but not tasty enough to eat. Walls reminded me of a teacher that I had. He would choke out students for fun. Man, their parents were mad. Christ likes like a massive growler.
I saw Al Franken interviewing Dana Carvey and asking him about his Biden and the different Bidens, like, because he was talking about that Biden, the soft Biden, but there's also the angry Biden. I mean, to see Dana Carvey running through all his Bidens and all the different inflections of Biden, it's really a great thing to behold. I mean,
I felt,
but his voice.
Although I was going to say, just for Dana Carvey, I felt on SNL, his Biden this past weekend wasn't that great. It was
right.
It was.
Yeah, the voice. You could actually hear Dana Carvey's voice. You could hear it was like Dana Carvey quoting, doing outtakes of Biden speeches. You know, so like, yeah, Biden says no kidding, malarkey, but he says it. He took those sayings as if they were one sentence. You know, and then he did that as a callback several times.
Yeah.
You know, and then the walk. You know, it's like I say, it was too easy. It was too fucking. I expected someone with his talent to do better. Honestly.
All right, that's fair. I know. Obviously, I think I don't watch Saturday Night Live. So, here it is.
I could have done that Biden. And I had to do a terrible Biden.
I do get the picture of Trump meeting the head of the union for the
acting like he's president already. Go ahead. You want to?
Yeah, let me where it is. It is right there.
We apologize for this dead air here. It's
There we go.
basically Donald Trump's fault. Wow.
Yeah, and you can see up in the corner, he's got that picture of Kim Jong Il or whatever.
Yeah, Kim Jong Un.
Yeah.
That was over the border, right? They were both reaching over the North Korean border there.
Yeah, I guess.
That's so weird. Let me share this because you know what, it's not really that important, but I wanted to share it with you because I talked about it, and let's see if we can do this.
Talk about your Biden. Has your Biden changed?
Folks, I wrote the bill. I know how to do this because I know how to do it. And I do it all the time. It's the pirates, but the public, private, it's the Caribbean. The Pirates of the Caribbean is what I end with him. I don't know why, but it just rhythmically makes me laugh that he finds his way to Pirates of the Caribbean every time he speaks.
Now, you have a soft Biden and a loud Biden.
Well, that changed in the beginning, and you and I were working on this. It was like the country needed to it was like the kind of friendly grandpa, and it was very much, you know, I always mention Scranton. My father lost his job. No joke. And we both thought that was just so funny how he'd say something that was utterly not funny. No human being would think a guy losing his job was a joke, but he has to tell us, well, I'm not a stand-up comedian here. I'm not being funny. Father lost his job. No joke. And then he doesn't do this anymore, but during the primaries, it was the list. Number one, the one part. Number two, what the guy said. Number three, come on, you know the drill. Folks, let's get real. I'm being serious right now. And it was very whispery and very just gentle. And then at some point, the press was being a little harder on him or something. But I noticed, and they were talking about his vigor. And then he started to go from a whisper yell, just so sorry to be very loud. And I wrote the bill and did the things people talk about. You can speak loud and time. And that was a new rhythm for me. I'd never seen him like go that loud. And then the final one, which was my father used to do, was sort of this whispery, don't you get it, folks? Folks, come on. I wrote the bill. I did it. I know how to write bills.
Yeah.
See, what he was doing there was better than what he did on Saturday.
Yeah. I didn't. I know. I still hear Dana Carvey's voice in that, but I definitely get the idea of Biden with that stuff. I do think Biden has changed, and I don't think it's. You know, if you go back and look at the long body of work of him, I think he's changed a million different ways over. You know, that's when you're in the public eye that long, that will happen, I guess. But
and I think he has one last transformation to make. No, I'm not talking about death. I'm talking about the same one that Obama made when he was like, when I'm done, and he did his correspondence speech, and he goes, I have a bucket list. I have a list, and he says it rhymes with bucket. And he went on and says such and such and such bucket. Bucket. So, and I think that's what we're about to see. I think we're going to see that from Biden. As a matter of fact, I think we'd be seeing it now if shit just didn't start rolling downhill so quickly between what's Israel doing, the teams, the loading dock, the boat people, and Hurricane Helene. Those three things like hitting all at once. Biden can't do his fuck it. He's got to still be presidential.
You know.
But on the other hand, he's also sending out Kamala Harris to be the face of some of this stuff too.
It's so weird how people don't know how government works, or either that they know how government works, but they're purposely lying about how government works. I mean, the fact that she has the power right now to do all. No, when have you ever seen a vice president sign an executive order?
Right. That's what I don't. That's one thing I don't get. It's like J.D. Vance is in the Senate. He knows that. Okay, he goes, "This is her policies." No, you've never been a vice president. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or but you know the people who will vote for you don't know what the fuck how government works.
Yeah,
because that's not how government works. And that's
because if she says that, it's throwing Biden under the bus. Because if she talks about And here's the thing that they don't make clear is that they want to do it the right way and sign legislation. This whole thing about the border security, we should not have a president being able to write executive orders for everything he wants to do. That is the definition of fascism. If a president doesn't need the legislature or any laws passed, he can just unilaterally make laws. That is fascism. And then what they were saying is they want to pass the bill, but they don't make that clear. So when they say, well, why doesn't she do it now? She doesn't want to throw Biden under the bus and say, it's not me. I can't. I don't have the power to do that.
She can do that without throwing Biden under the bus. She could just come out and say, obviously, you don't know how government works.
Right. That's exactly my point. She could be kept saying that. And not only we want to stop the executive order nonsense, because that is not what this country was meant to be, where we have one guy with a pen in an office who can just say whatever things are going to be. That's why we have a House of Representatives and a Senate. And why things, and then the president has to eventually sign the bill or veto it. That's why things work the way they work. We don't want to just be able to.
And with the Supreme Court that we have, it's not going to take much for someone in Texas, let's say a Texas governor or a Texas attorney general or a Florida governor, to challenge an executive order, and it winds up at the Supreme Court before the 6 justices that are in the pocket of Leonard Leo, and they will do whatever he says.
Right.
And then whatever executive order, whatever good it could do, it doesn't get to do it.
Now, and you would know this better than anybody on this program, I think, this idea that Vance was putting forward, that illegal immigration is driving up the cost of housing in America, and he has there's a report or something that proves that. I haven't seen any document. I can't understand how they.
Okay, here's the deal. When I was in college, there was a thing I took statistic in economics, and one of the things they teach you in statistics is the difference between correlation and causation. Okay, correlation is like an example they used to teach us was the example they loved was polio used to get worse during the summer, and people bought more Coca-Cola during the summer. So they would say that polio was caused by Coca-Cola because the two of them both went up in the summer.
Yeah. Who was putting that study out? Pepsi?
or someone else could say ice cream causes polio because polio goes up in the summer, and so does the sale of ice cream consumption. And so the two things that he's talking about are not causational; they're correlational. They have nothing to do with each other.
But are they even real? I even question correlation in that point. In that perspective,
well, what he's saying is there are a number of immigrants are being given like hotel rooms to stay in and stuff like that. That went up. You understand what I'm saying? Like in the hotels in New York and stuff like that. That started to happen, and those occurrences went up. And the prices of housing went up as well. A housing shortage, but they're not related. The real cause for couple of causes for the housing shortage. One is that corporations, when the housing bubble went crazy, corporations bought houses and that people couldn't buy, and so people can't move into them. They're either for rent, and then they make the rent so fucking high, people can't stay there. They move out. And so they bought housing as an investment, so someone, who wanted to buy a house didn't have that house. Yeah. They could not buy that house. They could move into that house, but they could not own it. So yes, there's that kind of shortage, but it's corporations that are doing it, not homeless people or not immigrants. It's correlational, not causational. Okay. And so you could take those two studies.
No, you're right.
You're right.
I mean, you want. I don't even have to see the actual data on that. What you're saying just makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I see where that's coming from.
Yeah, the Reverend had a sermon last week about the difference between why people can't reason, and the difference between using math and using reason. You know,
I wish I would have been there for that.
Yeah, it was he made it up. He made it up as he went along, but it was very, very good.
Yeah, I thought I heard his voice while in my dreams there.
While you were sleeping, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, where was I going to go with that? I don't know. I forgot.
I don't know where you're going to go, but I wish the next time you fall asleep while the Reverend's talking, you wouldn't drool on my shoulder while you're doing it.
I'll try. I did that one. I don't know. I don't think I ever told this story before. I was on a Greyhound bus from Portales, New Mexico to Buffalo, New York. And I woke up drooling. I was on a strange woman's shoulder, my head on her shoulder, sleeping with drool coming out of my mouth. She was a little upset, as you might imagine.
I had a friend of mine who used to be a consultant for the government, but he had narcolepsy. And so he was in a government meeting, a briefing with some really high, powerful environmentalist people. And he did that and drooled. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It took him like 3 years before he told me the story. I said, when did this happen? He goes, like 3 years ago. I said, you're just telling me now? He goes, I'm just getting over the embarrassment.
Yeah. So if I can kind of take a little tangent on the J.D. Vance thing, Peter Thiel, who is the puppet master behind J.D. Vance, he about 2 months ago put out this video where he didn't put it out. He was caught. He was somebody shared a video of him saying that the United States now is like a Weimar Germany in the 1920s, and saying that liberalism has gone too far, and this is why we need a dictator, making pretty much the same argument that Hitler made as why Germany needed a strong arm leader. And people were saying, and this is the first time I've heard anybody really confront this in this way. You have been made a super powerful multi-billionaire in this country. What is so bad about America in your view that you're so angry about where America is in this system that you hate? You have risen to the top into a place of extreme power and entitlement. Why are you so angry about it? And all I could come up with is they are disgusted that people who are not billionaires or even petty millionaires, that why should they have any respect or rights in this civilization? They want it all to themselves. They want the power, the elitism, only to people like him. And that's all I can come up with is what he's really angry about. Why should we give those peasants who only worth $1 million? Why should we even give them any consideration at all? Why do they have any rights? Why should we respect them as human beings? How dare they want to be? I mean, what else could there be? If you're a multi-billionaire, everything is going your way. How could you be so angry about where America is right now? You got any thoughts on that? Because I am, other than what I just expressed, I have no idea what he might be angry about.
That he just wants a fucking tax cut. That's it. So he can have more money and less. He just wants less tax and less regulation. That's all it is. I mean, the guy is gay, and he's putting
a gay Nazi.
He's putting all this money behind this guy, and this guy is completely against everything he likes to do. Except they want to get it to the point where they control you, but then they're fucking and sucking each other.
Well, this is where I'm confused, because you need the people who are going to do the work. You need those people who you just, who's going to fucking clean your toilets? Not you.
The millionaires will. The millionaires will.
Yeah, right. So I mean, so basically, the people you're trying to get rid of, if you get rid of them all, you're going to have to do it yourself. This is maybe his elevator doesn't go all the way to the top, but I mean, this idea of just doing away with everybody who's not on my level, just this is why in affluent neighborhoods you have poor neighborhoods right to the side, because those are the people who you're going to come in and be your servants, your paid slaves.
And that way they can walk to work, because you're not going to pay them enough to have a car.
Well, the one thing that really no one asks is like, all right, you just blame immigrants all the time because it's an easy path to take. So
Right.
what would happen if you win, and you're still going to have immigrants? So even if you got rid of all the immigrants, then who gets blamed for the problems then?
Yeah.
At that point, when you
Right.
can't blame the immigrants anymore, so you're going to
Oh,
start.
that's what blacks and gays are for.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so short-sighted. Like so I was playing Call of Duty and stuff while I had that on in the background. But like when you see JD Vance talk, it's just like faux Christian nationalism. It's
Right.
like, we know what you're doing here, and this is just a work. It's like, you don't give a shit about this. You just want to blame people and fucking take whatever you want. But I really hope people just are able to see through it, and the fact that they want to be in your fucking bedroom is weird.
Yeah.
And
Especially if you got questionable.
I mean, we all can't get pissed on by Russian prostitutes and hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, they want it to the point where the only place you can get a legal abortion is Epstein Island.
Right. Here's I want to get to news, but a compelling thing that came up when Walls brought up the fact that Vance called Trump the American Hitler.
Yes.
And Vance's justification was that for changing his mind on that. I looked how the economy was doing. And if you can debate the fact that the economy, Trump didn't do anything to boost the economy in reality. We can, that aside. So what you're saying is Hitler would be fine if the economy, that's what he was saying. Literally, if the economy is okay, Hitler's a good guy. That's what he said. I mean, nobody even pointed that out. Hello, what you were just saying, yeah, it's fine to wipe out an entire race of people or anybody you don't like, as long as the economy's doing good.
And he was nice to dogs. Hitler was nice to dogs.
But that is history, because typically countries will swing very conservative when economies are in the toilet, and it's just years and years of this shit.
Very conservative is a whole different thing from what Hitlerism is. I mean, Nazism. That was a planned final solution.
They're different, but they're the same. There are a lot of similarities.
Yeah. I want to get to news. We have to get to news. Why do we have to get to news? Because I said so. That's why. Because I am the dictator.
A group of demonstrators protested outside Benjamin Netanyahu's private residence in Jerusalem, urging the Israeli prime minister to strike a deal with Hamas to bring hostages back home.
Among the protesters were families of those still held by the militant group, demanding Netanyahu take action to secure the hostages' release from Gaza. Police struggled to contain the crowd as they breached the barriers near Netanyahu's home. The protest comes amid ongoing Israeli military operations targeting Hezbollah leaders in Lebanon and Iran. Benjamin Wright reporting.
Describing the aftermath of former Hurricane Helene as broad and devastating, President Joe Biden announced that his administration is offering a comprehensive range of aid to the affected region.
Biden is expected to visit North Carolina this week to survey some of the damage firsthand. I want everyone to know we're staying until the work is finished, Biden said during a morning press briefing. I'm committed to visiting impacted areas as soon as it's feasible, but I'm being advised that going now would be disruptive. Kyle Norris reporting.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell indicated that more interest rate cuts are on the horizon, but emphasized they would happen at a measured pace designed to sustain the economy's overall health.
Speaking at the National Association for Business Economics conference in Nashville, Tennessee, Powell's remarks tempered the expectations of some investors hoping for another significant half-point rate cut by year-end. Earlier this month, the Fed lowered its rate by an unusually large half-point. Liam White reporting.
This is the latest news headlines.
It's not really
the FBI has agreed to pay more than $22 million to settle a class action lawsuit alleging that female trainees were targeted for dismissal during training.
The lawsuit also claimed that the women were frequently harassed by instructors with inappropriate comments regarding their breast size, unfounded accusations of infidelity, and advice to take contraception to control their moods. The settlement, which still requires approval from a federal judge, would be one of the largest in the Bureau's history, compensating 34 women dismissed from the FBI's training academy in Quantico, Virginia. Kevin Sanders reporting.
A New Mexico judge has refused to dismiss the case against Rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez, who was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins.
This decision follows a previous dismissal of charges against Alec Baldwin due to evidence suppression. Gutierrez's legal team argued that she should receive a new trial or have the case dismissed, citing egregious prosecutorial misconduct and severe and ongoing discovery violations by the state. Paul Gomez reporting.
Arkansas filed a lawsuit against YouTube and its parent company Alphabet, accusing the platform of being intentionally addictive and contributing to a mental health crisis among the state's youth.
Attorney General Tim Griffin's office filed the case in state court, alleging violations of the state's deceptive trade practices and public nuisance laws. The suit claims the platform's addictive nature has led to the state incurring millions in costs for expanded mental health and youth services. Jessica Oakley.
Incoming. Oh, you didn't dodge that one. I guess the Iron Dome that the news people have, not so good. YouTube, intensely addictive. Cannot we say that about everybody? Every social platform is at least putting an effort out there to be intensely addictive. Isn't that the
every snack food?
Yeah. I mean, that's I would say every business that is the underlying. If you got a product or service, that is the underlying hope or intention is to make it intentionally addictive, right or wrong?
Yeah.
No, I think yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like because of my
singling out YouTube. I hate to say unfairly because YouTube, and we're on YouTube, and while I'm calling it the devil, I do agree YouTube can be very destructive.
I think all of them can be because TikTok is set up to feed you, and especially just scrolling through that algorithm is there to feed you. Then because I know I have ADD, and like when I'm on Instagram on the Reels feed, like all these fucking thirst traps keep coming up. And it's like, well, maybe I should click on her links. Then you find out she has got a Twitter. Then the next thing you know, you find out she doesn't have a Twitter. Then you got to take her username, then go to Reddit, look up her username and hope that she has some pictures there. Then if not, then you get very angry. And then you're like, what's going on? But then you scroll to the next thirst trap. Then you're like, you know what? I'll be all right because she has a Twitter and she is on Reddit. And you get to see, you get to see the goods. You get to see it in her mouth, in her pussy, in her ass, and everyone's happy.
And then you show up at
not
the house,
me.
you
I'm
knock
not
on the
happy,
door.
but almost everyone's happy.
Yeah, you show up at the house, you knock on the door, and you say, "Excuse me, I've been following you on Reddit, and I had a problem with the lighting. I'm going to come in and fix the lighting so I get,
But I mean, like all these platforms feed any addiction that you need. Like if it's sex or if it's food,
Right. So why just go after YouTube? Because it takes more than one person, right? A lot of people have to agree on this. Like, let's make YouTube the target of this. Why not? Why start? Maybe that's just a start. And maybe it'll go to Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and all these places after that. But it just seems
it
very
usually
weird.
starts with a personal issue, like their kid or their niece or their nephew or their friend says, "Look, my daughter went through this, and it happened on YouTube." But
so many people don't even bother. And I know my wife has expressed this. They don't watch the videos. They go to the comment section first, get involved in this whole argument stuff in the comments without ever having seen the video. The video gets credit for a view when people do that. But so just because something says 1 million views doesn't mean it has 1 million views. It means 1 million people have jumped or 1 million times someone has jumped into the comment section. Or at least, started that whole thing. Yeah, it's very weird, but I just don't get how we decide on this thing. Who are we going to make the first target of our campaign to bring people down, bring something down? It's just really weird.
You said something about Netanyahu's house.
Yeah. Like they don't. This is the first. Maybe I should be embarrassed for not knowing this. They don't have like a White House. He just lives on the street. I know they said he had barricades, but it doesn't sound like there's official prime minister residence in Israel.
He may have both. He may have, like, I'm sure Biden lives in the White House, and he has his house in Delaware. You know, Dick Cheney lived at the Naval Observatory, but he had a house in Maryland.
Could people just go outside Biden's house and just start like a mob scene there? That's what could.
There are people who, in today's world,
I know they've done it with the Supreme Court justices recently, but the president, I would think, had at least some more protection than that. Than people could just surround his house.
Here's the thing. Like, Dick Cheney bought a place in Maryland, and the way that you could find out where he lived, if you did Google search, they blacked out that neighborhood. It's like, yeah, you go on Google Earth, there's like this little black hole, and guess what? That's where Dick Cheney lived, where the house they didn't want to show. So you find houses around them. It's like, there you go. There's Dick Cheney's house in the void. People are not stupid. Okay, people are stupid, but a person can figure it out and then tell people how to get there.
Yeah, I just want to be clear here. We are not condoning anybody go in that area of Maryland on Google Earth and look for the black dot. And for anybody who of prominence, we're not encouraging anybody to go black dot searching.
I'm not a fan of Dick Cheney, and I don't even know if he still lives there, because I think he probably bought a house. Matter of fact, I know for a fact.
Yeah, you can't just go shooting your friends in the face in Maryland. You got to take them out to like Wisconsin,
I know
Montana.
For a fact that Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, and George Bush, the second one, all bought properties in countries that didn't have extradition treaties during the whole Abu Ghraib thing.
Wow.
They all did it, and they did it like the same week. It was like a crawl across the bottoms. Like one week you see this, and that's what got me in trouble. Me bringing that up is what got me in trouble, because it was a crawl. Matt, you've been in radio for a long time. I mean, you've been there anyway. Did you ever see the ticker tape? Are you familiar with the ticker tape for the news?
Yeah.
How when it used to come across, it came across as raw data. It was unfiltered. So whatever the reporter saw, and then you had to make it into a story. So it might be like a sentence that says 3 cats were kidnapped in Istanbul.
Right.
And then another sentence. But you couldn't just say it the way they said it. You had to write a story.
Right.
That's how I found out about Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, and Bush. It was like a ticker tape thing. And it was a crawl. And all of a sudden, it went away. It didn't repeat, because sometimes the stories repeat. And it's like, wait a minute, I got this. This happened, and it was like deleted. After that, it's like, no, but no, wow. I had the hard evidence.
Wow. So AAP put something out there and then immediately retracted it within seconds of actually putting it out there. That's
before the next cycle, before it repeated again.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. Now, opensecrets.org, I think it's opensecrets.org. They have a list of these kind of things. Do we know if Trump has property in Venezuela yet? I think he probably does, right? I'm thinking.
I don't know if he has property, but remember, he's been trying to get places all over the world. So he could have like a place, but like a golf course, or.
Well, here's the thing: if he loses it doesn't matter if he loses or wins. He's going to be sentenced on November 18th, which is, I think, you're going to go to jail. Now, it would be really weird if he won. The president-elect being sentenced to jail, he's going to be sentenced to jail. There's no question in my mind about that. If I'm wrong, I will eat something that Ron Kane puts in a video.
Don't say it. Ron is already working on it.
Right. But
at the end of the show, Ron's going to have a video. It says, "Here's Matt. I have a video of your next dish that you're going to be eating."
What difference does it make at this point? I'm fucking eating shit every day on this program anyway. But I think don't think he can possibly allow himself to be taken into custody. I think he's going to run. I think he's going to do an OJ. It'll be, I don't know who's going to be driving the Bronco to Venezuela, but I can't imagine him willfully. He won't surrender the fact that he actually lost the election. You think he's going to surrender actually to physical jail?
Why not go to Russia?
Well, because I think Venezuela is more friendly to him, and well, I don't know about friendly, but I think he doesn't want to be forced to be taking Putin's dick up his ass every fucking day, and I think he's more respected in Venezuela because they, basically haven't had him as a sex toy puppet. So he's got more. They actually think of him as like the MAGA people think of him as like some kind of strong man, where in Russia they know the fact that we own that little putz. He doesn't want to go where he's owned. That's just my. Plus, he's always talking about Venezuela, so that's about going to Venezuela, Caracas, and all that kind of stuff. Hey, we'll meet on the beach in Caracas. Just tend to think that that's his plan. But do you think he? I think he'll run. Do you not agree? Do you disagree?
No, I don't think he will, just because he likes Florida too much, and I don't know. I mean, possibly. I just don't think he's got the backbone to do it. Actually.
Wow.
This is my suggestion, okay? And this is, you have to hear me out. This is going to be a little bit convoluted. Once the election is over and Jimmy Carter has done the last thing he wanted to do, which is to vote for Kamala Harris, he will no longer need Secret Service, okay? He won't. So take Jimmy Carter's Secret Service people, and I'm sure that he doesn't have the best people, because he doesn't need the best people. It's not like he's going all over the place and they have to like move around. Take his Secret Service people, assign them to Trump, okay? And then, because Trump won't be president yet, so his Secret Service detail will be determined by the DHS head.
Do we want to have a poll? Who's going to, I mean, this is a really cruel thing. Who will pass first, Biden or Jimmy Carter?
Well, it's Carter because he has a bucket list. And the last thing on his bucket list is to vote for Kamala Harris. So once he's done that, he'd be happy to go see Rosalind. Biden wants to, he still has stuff he wants to do. Mainly, he wants to fuck Trump in public. He hates Trump. Trump has gotten under his skin like nothing else. And Biden has gotten under Trump's skin. They're like, it's like Batman and the Joker. It's like, kill you. You complete me. So that's what they're like.
Ron, could you work on that? Trump and Biden as Batman and the Joker. We could get to work on that. All right. Well, I talked about it being in over my head. We're going to meet our guest today, and our only guest today. And I mentioned I talked to some pretty high-level big thinkers, physicists, doctors, brain surgeons, and generally there have been times when I have felt a little bit over my head in the conversation. This conversation, I feel like a complete idiot on. So let's start with that as a disclaimer for why I'm going to be really stupid in this conversation. Dan Hendel is an architect and curator whose work focuses on underexplained ideas, figures, and practices that shape contemporary built environments. Over the past 15 years, he has been studying the links between scientists, forest managers, and spatial designers, resulting in various exhibitions and publications on the subject of designed forests. He's here now. Let's welcome in Dan Hendel to Coffee with Doug. Good morning, Dan. Don't hurt my brain, please.
Hi, Matt. Good to be here. Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Now, we're doing well. I think we're doing well. We're a little weird, but that's to be expected with that every day. I am really confused about what the goal of the book design, and I'm going to bring up the book and your website. What is the real crux of, if you can? I know it's a book. You're not going to tell me everything that's in the book, but what is this all about?
Well, perhaps I could tell you how it all started, and that would sort of lead us into the subject. So, a couple of years back, I was doing a small sort of research project. As you mentioned, I'm in design with a design background. So I was traveling to see some industrial forests, because I'm also looking at, large landscape design projects. And so I was, going to visit these sites. I didn't know much about, belonging to these big forest corporations. And I was in this forest in Montana, and this was already a few years ago, but the sort of experience is still very strong, because what happened there is that I realized that there was something very eerie about the trees. So I was studying in this forest, and all of the trees looked the same. It was, almost like an illusion, like all of the trees seemed exactly the same age, same height, same trees, same species, of course. They're all clones of each other, and this sort of made me think, why is that really the case? And later I found out that there were thousands of trees in this and other forests around there, but they were germinated from the same genetic material, actually, and planted in the same, almost in the same day, in order to grow together. It was, this really eerie Stephen King moment, and this sort of experience prompted me to think and look further, eventually writing this book, trying to explain what is happening to our forests, but also to our cities, and how these things are linked to one another.
All right. Let me
with the trees, because one of the issues we're having with the lack of diversity with the trees, and also this matter of fact, we have a perfect example: bananas. I mean, we used one type of banana that became those bananas. I think it was the Kavanaugh bananas. They got disease, and then we had to go to another type of banana. But those are the only bananas that we would make or clone and grow.
Right.
And then they became diseased, and we had to switch to another type of banana. The same things could happen to the trees with the lack of diversity, because the one species could get wiped out with one disease, as opposed to with slight genetic differences, one cluster of trees may develop some type of immunity that will help them survive.
Exactly. Once you have these monocultures in terms of how forests are being planted and managed, you have a big problem. You have a big ecological problem, and as you mentioned, they're extremely fragile. Yep.
Yeah, I would look at that and just jump to a conclusion that there was intent behind it. And whose intent is the question? Like, is it man's intent? Is there something bigger? I always think about these things, like, because I'm not a religious guy, but the wonders of creation and how we got to be here in the first place are things that puzzle me and fill me with wonder, and I'm curious about. So I would come to the idea that it feels like, if there feels like intent, there might be intent, and that would be my that would be my starting point. Are you similar of mind? Like, it feels like this is intentional?
Well, we have all sorts of fantasy ideas about forests, but and one of these ideas that I think is very strong is that this is somehow part of nature. So we think forests are natural, but they're not. More than once I looked into that, I realized that more than 90% of the forests worldwide are not natural, in a sense that man didn't alter them in some way. So even the Black Forest in Germany, the symbol of whatever natural forest, even the Amazon, these are places that are touched and altered by human design. So could be designed from 100 years back, 400 years back, or 10 years ago. But all of these places are designed, which led me to think that we could discuss forests as design projects, basically.
Wow. Now, are we utilizing this information that you have come up with in a way that we are using it to our advantage in any way? Because this is where it gets really confusing to me. Knowing that we have manipulated forests, and you would call them design forests, does that change the way we move forward in our urban design or architectural design, or the way we live on this planet?
Well, this is a really good point, which actually is a central point of my project, because I think what I try to argue is that we change real forest through our ideas about forest, right? So we have certain ideas and we act upon the world through these ideas. And if we change these ideas, we could act differently. So to your question, how this affects our design of forest environments and of cities, I think it definitely does. So for instance, having this metaphor of a productive forest, that the forest is like a factory, right? Every tree is the same. You cut them, you plant them in the same day, you cut them in the same day. It's like a Ford plant kind of thing, you know, Detroit 20th century style, led to the creation of many such forests in the United States and other places around the world. But if you take other leading ideas, for instance, the idea of equilibrium, right? That there is a certain balance that exists in the forest, and we could learn from that and bring that to our cities, right? So once you do that, you begin to see the underlying conceptions and misconceptions that are being applied, let's say, in urban design, right? So when New York is saying, you know, we're going to plant 1 million trees in the next 5 years, and it's going to improve everybody's life because, you know, we're all going to be in a better balance or something like that. I'm not saying it's completely false, but at the same time, it relies on a certain cultural idea that forest equals sort of equilibrium or ecological balance.
Wow, it's pretty heavy.
Now, one of the things that, well, I'm pretty sure it's in the Amazon where we were cutting down tons of useful trees and replacing them with with a bunch of palm oil trees, I believe, palm trees. For the palm oil, for that industry, you know, because almost everything was using palm oil. But eventually, enough people, consumers, said, wait a second, we don't have to have palm oil in everything, do we? And so it was consumers that kind of struck back. And so they're not, at least to my understanding, I could be being lied to, like I was about how effective recycling is. So I could be buying into that lie because I really want to believe it. But I thought consumers struck back enough that they are not planting the palm trees like they are, and in some places trying to make it more reflective of what the nature should be in that area. Am I wrong? Am I deluded?
No, you're not wrong. I think it's part of the story. I think the other part of the story in the specific case of the Amazon was that there was a change of regulation in the Brazilian government. So once the last president stepped down, the current president is more sort of supportive of environmental legislation. And as you mentioned, the palm oil industry is one of the most destructive industries in terms of deforestation and damage to the planet in general, I would say.
The other day I saw it was somebody sharing Nikola Tesla's ideas about or prediction about cell phones. But in that prediction, he talked about the Earth being a brain, having a consciousness and a brain. And that's like a really out there proposition for a guy like me, a small thinker, not a huge thinker like Tesla. But I have to wonder, first of all, do you accept any of that? And if so, isn't the Earth, aren't we pissing off the planet that we're on by manipulating saying, we'll just take it as the Earth is the artist, and we're coming in saying your art is mistaken. We need to change this creation that you've given us because it doesn't suit our needs. That would piss the artist off. Meaning planet Earth. Are you what do you think about that whole idea about Earth having a consciousness, the planet having a consciousness of its own?
Well, you know, I think a planetary consciousness is very interesting idea. But we have to remember that it is also a cultural idea. It's a human idea. Okay,
right.
It's a human idea, and it appears in certain moments in time. You see it in the 70s, you know, with the whole Earth Day movement. It suddenly appears. You see it in recent 2 decades over all sorts of indigenous cultures trying to fight for nature's rights in several places, or in South America and India, etc. I think it's a very captivating idea, and it's very useful. And that's how I like to treat it. That's how I like to treat all ideas, right? Because once we understand that we have the power to think through these ideas and then to act through these ideas, we understand that we have the power to change the way things are right now, if we want to change them. And I think there are some things to be changed. So
there are some ideas that can be very useful, but still be very wrong, right?
I think our path of development is clearly wrong. Yeah, in many ways, not only environmental, but also economic.
So
right?
if you're tuning in today for some optimism, you might want to tune out now.
So the brain, but having a brain does not equal consciousness. You kind of like made a leap there, Matt, because you said Tesla was talking about Earth having a brain, and then you made the leap to consciousness. That's not the same thing, because brains, you can have a rudimentary brain.
I didn't.
Which is like
no,
one
he did.
cell.
He did in that quote I was reading. He actually did. I wasn't. That wasn't me putting that in there. That was.
Oh, okay. But even still, because the brain. A rudimentary brain is not as great as, let's say, a dolphin brain or a pig brain or a human
a fair point. But in the Tesla's quote, he was talking about a brain and consciousness and all that kind of stuff.
And even with the consciousness, that's not necessarily self-consciousness or self-aware. So, but still there's different degrees of consciousness.
I don't. That consciousness is something I don't think anybody has come across with a really comprehensive definition of and thing that we can all. It's like God. Like, can we all agree on what God is? No.
I define consciousness in my new book, Making It Up as I Go Along.
Okay. That's available where?
Everywhere that my book is available.
Everywhere your book is available. Okay.
But the idea of intelligence, I think is kind of interesting, right? You mentioned the brain, and again, we have this. Our culture right now is obsessed with intelligence, right? The AI boom, right? We're all floating on NVIDIA GPUs right now in some ways or another. And what I would try to say here is that we project this idea of intelligence also on natural environments, right? And we are obsessed with intelligence ourselves, and then we begin to assume that natural systems have some sort of an intelligence. And of course, we don't know exactly what it is, but we assume it exists, and this change real force. So for instance, if you go to experimental forests right now, run by let's say the US Forest Service in California or whatever, you would find something very different than this sort of serene natural environment. You would actually find, an environment filled with machines, sensors, processing apparatus, sending all sorts of data in order to better analyze how a forest works and make it more resilient, say, to climate change, right? So it really changes the physical environment, which in turn, again, is a sort of feedback loop that changes our idea about nature and about where we live, right? Our habitation, our cities.
Right. What are there solutions that are offered to? Because I'm thinking in terms of sustainability. Because I've had not a lot. I've had several guests on, 2 or 3, 4 maybe, who have written about sustainability. Tony Wall, from the Noesis Project, and he was mentioning this planet could be up to 25 billion people in short term, but he believes that's sustainable even at the way we are living right now. But we talk about sustainability. Is all this kind of manufacturing or manipulating forests? Is that I'm just assuming that your assumption is the same as mine, is that is not conducive to long-term sustainability. Is that fair or not?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think if you look at the way cities are being designed, it's like it's like owning a Tesla in a way. You do certain things in order to appear more environmental, but you don't really change the way things are going in terms of development, in terms of the mechanisms, the economic mechanisms that that support development, in terms of who's in and who's out, right? So these things stay the same, but then you have projects in Milan or in New York planting, 500 trees on top of a tower and saying it equals a forest, which of course it doesn't, both on an ecological level, because you forgot to mention that the forest also exists underground, but also on the economic level. So you don't change the way we develop, and you don't change the sort of disastrous effects of this development, this way of developing. So Yeah, so I would say, we could utilize ideas about forests in cities in much better ways, right? In much more critical ways to the way development is being done today.
This might be a political trap here, and I hope it's not. I really don't. I don't want to. But we are living in a time where science as a whole is being rejected. Like people are outright, and I think we heard about this a little bit last night. People outright reject science as a cult. Like, wait a minute, we're saying that all the religions are not cults. Science is a cult all of a sudden. Does that concern you in presenting something like this as, hey, wait, what kind of cult is this guy trying to shove down my throat?
I think it's a good question, right? But related more than anything to the time we live in, and I think science is really being debunked from all sides in the last, I don't know, decade or so, but definitely since 2016, I would say, in the States. And I think what is, on the one hand, I think we should be critical about science, right? What I found out in my work is that scientists, like all people, like designers or like foresters, they work according to assumptions and ideas that are anchored in their culture, right? So if you're a scientist from a certain place, I don't know, in the Midwest, it might be different from a scientist from India, just because of your cultural backgrounds. And this affects the way you do research, and this affects the way you come up with conclusions. So I think we should be aware of this, right? But on the other side, I would say that science is extremely useful for us to optimize, the way we live, and it has a good track record of doing so. So I don't think we should, throw it away. Still,
Actually, the people who are anti-science will point out every time things were like we learned something new, they chalk that up to, well, you see, the science was wrong. No, the science has advanced, and we kind of corrected our thinking on stuff. But they will point that out as, well, that's proof science was no good to begin with. I mean, it's a tricky little wicket to kind of get into. But correcting mistakes, I find that. It's kind of analogous to if my car breaks down and I'm the guy who goes to fix it, it's going to end up worse than it was when it started. I had a guy on the program who was talking about natural habitats and how, because I live on Long Island, New York, and people have landscaped their properties with foreign plants that weren't natural to this habitat, Long Island, and he was replacing or going back to nature, what the natural plants and life that was supposed to be here, replacing that on his property. But it caused more problems than he could have imagined. So the fix for all this stuff is still, it's going to be up to humans who are fallible and prone to making mistakes. How do we know? How do we decipher what is the right path to fix or solutions on any of this stuff?
I think this leads back to the point that all of these things are anchored in cultural ideas and also conversations between people, right? So your example about this guy trying to sort of remake, I don't know, a landscape from 200 years ago or 500 years ago, pre-colonial, whatever it is. I touch upon some of these projects, which I think are very interesting, right? Restorative ecology, as they call themselves, and it's fascinating to see the research, but again, it really hinges upon their definitions of what is the initial point to which they refer to. So, what makes, I don't know, 500 years ago in Manhattan Island a better point of reference than 200 years ago, right?
Right.
This is a cultural assumption that I think should be the result of a conversation, an agreement between people. And then we could move forward with developing it in such a way. Because, the entire, if you actually look at the history of, ecological history of almost any place, but definitely New York, you would see that what we call invasive species are just, different fluctuations of things that arrive and leave. For various reasons, right? And they're called invasive based on cultural definition. So this is our flora and fauna, and your sort of foreign kind of species that comes in and puts us at risk, right? So So it reminds us of different social discussions, right? Where the way we talk about migration, for instance.
Yeah, I'm a pessimist by nature, but I think you just killed the little grain of hope that I may have had because you said people agreeing, and that to me is not going to happen.
That's not easy. No, that's not easy these days.
You got something, GD? I interrupted you.
I was just saying that you was referring to invasive species. No matter what we label it, the thing that they do that make us want to call them invasive is still there, regardless of what we call them. I mean, for example, in Maryland we have lantern flies, which do not have a natural predator around here, and so but they eat corn and crops, and they're just breeding like you would not believe. And matter of fact, local government's saying if you see them, kill them because they don't have a natural predator. Now it's going to take a while for spiders and birds to realize, our spiders and birds to realize that they're edible, because it's like, whoa, what's this bug that has all this red? We can't eat this. So it's invasive right now, but it's going to take a while for nature to catch up to realize how delicious lantern bugs are. So I'm just saying some of the things.
I think it's an acquired taste.
I'm just saying it. So for us to call, I've now lost my. Thanks, Matt. I lost my train of thought. I'll be back later. I'll be back later. Yeah.
But just to say on that point, in the next generation in Maryland, we know when somebody's born in Maryland and he knows and is just accustomed to these new species, he wouldn't realize that they're invasive, right? So that's my point. My point is that it relates to a specific time and specific definition of what's invasive and what's native.
Right.
Yeah, I know that
human beings are invasive, right?
Sure.
Yes, we are like fire. It's was it in the Matrix? Mr. Smith refers to humans as being like a virus, and I disagree with that because viruses can evolve. I think we're more like fire, and fire just consumes. And maybe in its wake something good can come of it. Once it's gone, something can grow once it's gone. But I think we're more like fire. We don't care what we burn as long as we're burning.
Is that in your new book?
It will be. It's going to be in the sequel.
All right. Now, what were you? When I say hoping to achieve with this book, what was the outcome you were hoping for in the discussion you wanted to provoke? Obviously, you're one man, and you're not going to change the world, but you had to have some kind of intent about what you were looking to get out. Besides trying to make a buck in the publishing business, what you're trying to get out of the discussion that this book provokes. What exactly were you hoping to get as a response to this?
Well, I think it deals with, this book deals with a lot of issues that might sound kind of, as you say, the lack of optimism is there, but I don't think that's actually the case. I think that once we sort of grasp that we have agency in this world, right? So we could actually change the course of development, and it has been done before. So this book also deals with moments in time in which certain ideas dramatically changed large areas of this planet, sometimes for the better, not always. I think once we realize that this history exists, it also empowers us to have the right conversations and look, I think somewhat critically, as we mentioned, look at the present, but also, it's a sort of call to action at the same time. So I'm not pessimistic about it at all, actually. I think we're at the moment that we could still do something and make a change. I hope it doesn't sound too naive or anything, but I think there's really something to do there.
Not naive, but it relies on a lot of people changing their mindset, and because we tend to start out with this idea that I'm on a team. I'm talking about in the United States mostly, but I think this is a worldwide thing. I'm on a team, and if it doesn't serve my team, right or wrong, I have to dig into this thing. And to get anybody to kind of be willing to change today. I think it's getting harder and harder to get people open-minded to change is a good thing. It's a natural thing. It's an inevitable thing. And everybody wants to just stay the same in their tribe, in their team, and not have anything change. And I think that's where my pessimism comes in, is I just feel like
I would say that my idea would not be to talk to individuals and, blame them for everything. I think what we see when we look at this history is that, the big movers and shakers are the ones who could do a lot of damage, and also the ones who could change their ways, through public opinion. So this happened before. The forest companies, they used to own more than 10% of the land area in the United States. And they did basically whatever they wanted for, 100 years or more. And then at a certain point, public opinion changed. And as a result of that, regulation began to change. And as part of these discussions, they changed their ways. Now, you could say it's not perfect. It's not a perfect process. But I think it's a good example to show you how we could change the way we use and abuse natural environments.
All right. I have to say goodbye to Governor's Comedy Network for today. Governor, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.